Hey everyone, and welcome back to Grow to the Top. Today we're diving into something pretty fascinating, I think. Tyler's latest book, Think Like a Genius, Critical Thinking Hacks.
Yeah.
It's like this mental boot camp promising to equip us with, genius level thinking to conquer life's challenges.
It's refreshing, how the book really reframes this whole idea of what genius is. It moves away from this misconception that it's something you're just born with, like a high IQ.
Right.
It really emphasizes this idea of unlocking your potential, and it gives you specific techniques and helps you understand your own strengths.
It's about democratizing genius, making it accessible to everyone.
Exactly.
And speaking of access, for our listeners who want to follow along with us, we have a special offer. You can download a free bundle. Okay, it has the ebook, the executive summary, study notes, key takeaways for each chapter.
Wow.
First link in the video description. You can go grab that. Second link will take you right to the audiobook so you can listen along. But one of the first things that really struck me about this book was how it dismantles this myth, right? Yeah. That IQ is like the ultimate measure of intelligence.
It's a trap, isn't it? That we often fall into, this idea that a single number can really encapsulate the multifaceted nature of what human intelligence actually is.
Right. Like you could be an incredible artist, but if math isn't your forte, like your IQ score wouldn't reflect that. It's like judging a fish on its ability to climb a tree.
Exactly.
And that's where I think, Howard Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences comes in.
Yeah.
The book does a great job of kind of explaining this idea that intelligence is diverse.
Absolutely, yeah. Gardner's theory, it identifies 8 distinct intelligences: linguistic, logical, mathematical, spatial, musical, bodily, kinesthetic, interpersonal, intrapersonal, and naturalistic.
So rather than a single measure, right?
Yeah.
We have this whole constellation of intelligences, each valuable in its own right. I love how this reframes, how we see our potential. But the book doesn't stop at simply saying, hey, recognize your potential.
Right.
It gives us a roadmap to actually cultivate it.
Precisely. The book really emphasizes the importance of cultivating a growth mindset.
Okay.
And this is a concept championed by Carol Dweck. And it's this belief that our abilities are not fixed. They can be developed through dedication and hard work.
So it's about embracing challenges as opportunities for growth rather than shying away from them.
Exactly.
Seeing failures as stepping stones, not roadblocks.
Yeah, imagine facing a problem not with fear, but with this empowering thought of, I might not have the solution yet, but I can learn it, I can figure this out. That shift in perspective, that's the power of a growth mindset.
It really resonates with, the whole ethos of Grow to the Top, right?
Yeah.
It's about embracing that journey of continuous learning and pushing ourselves beyond, what we perceive as our limitations.
Absolutely. And the book provides a toolkit of techniques to help make that growth a reality. And one of the most powerful ones is the art of questioning, drawing inspiration from the Socratic method.
Intriguing. Tell me more about that.
So Socrates was a master at using questions to guide people toward truth and self-discovery. And the book encourages us to adopt that same spirit of inquiry, to ask insightful and probing questions that uncover hidden assumptions and really stimulate our curiosity.
So it's about going beyond simply accepting information at face value.
Right.
It's about actively engaging with it.
Exactly.
Digging deeper, uncovering those hidden layers of meaning. I could see how that would be transformative, especially for problem solving.
Precisely. By mastering the art of questioning, we become active participants in our learning, uncovering insights that we might otherwise miss.
Okay, so what happens when we're faced with a problem that's maybe a little more complex, that requires a little bit more than just questions?
Yeah.
What do we do then?
Well, the book delves into analytical techniques to help us really dissect and understand those complex challenges.
Okay, let's unpack that. What kind of analytical tools are we talking about here?
So one of them is what's called a logic tree, also known as an issue tree. Okay. And it's essentially a visual tool that helps you break down a complex problem into smaller, more manageable parts. So imagine a tree trunk representing the main issue. Each branch then represents a possible cause or factor, and you keep branching out until you pinpoint those root causes.
So it's about systematically dissecting a problem, much like, a detective would analyze a crime scene.
Exactly.
By understanding those individual components and how they relate to the bigger picture. And I think from there, then we can start to maybe formulate more effective solutions.
Precisely. And in addition to the logic tree, we also explore SWOT analysis, a tool I'm sure you're familiar with.
Yes.
To evaluate evaluate your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. It's a great way to gain that 360-degree view of a situation, whether you're launching a new project or even just assessing your personal development.
I definitely see the value in having these structured frameworks, right? They provide a sense of clarity and order, especially when you're tackling these complex issues.
Absolutely.
But the book doesn't limit us to like purely analytical thinking, does it?
Not at all.
It wants us to tap into our creative potential as well, right?
Absolutely. The book delves into this fascinating world of what's called lateral thinking, a term coined by Edward de Bono. And it's all about breaking free from those linear thinking patterns and making connections between seemingly unrelated ideas.
Okay.
Think of it as thinking outside the box. But instead of just looking for the box, you're questioning the very existence of the box itself.
Whoa, that's a powerful image. It reminds me of those moments where like a sudden flash of insight kind of connects these seemingly disparate ideas and then boom, these innovative solutions just appear. So how does the book suggest we cultivate that kind of creative thinking?
Well, it offers a range of techniques, things like mind mapping, brainstorming, even reversing assumptions. So mind mapping helps you visually organize your thoughts and explore connections. Brainstorming encourages you to generate ideas freely without judgment. And reversing assumptions, that challenges you to really question those preconceived notions and explore new possibilities.
So it's about creating the mental space for those aha moments to occur.
Exactly.
By shaking up our thinking, by embracing these unconventional approaches, we open ourselves up to this whole world of creative possibilities.
Exactly. And once those creative sparks ignite and we're brimming with all these ideas, the book provides frameworks to help us navigate that crucial next step, which is decision making.
Okay.
So we explore models like the OODA loop and cost-benefit analysis to really add that structure to our decision-making process.
The OODA loop, that sounds intriguing. Tell me more about that.
So the OODA loop, it's actually a military strategy model, but its applications, they extend far beyond the battlefield. OODA stands for Observe, Orient, Decide, and Act. And it's essentially about making rapid, informed decisions, but in these complex, ever-changing environments.
So you're constantly observing the situation. Right. Gathering information, orienting yourself within that context.
Exactly.
Making a decision based on the best available information you have at the time. And then taking action. It sounds very dynamic, very adaptable.
Exactly. The loop emphasizes this continuous reassessment. So as new information emerges, you're looping back, you're reorienting yourself, and you're adjusting your approach. It's a really valuable framework for navigating, I think, the complexities of our world, especially with how fast-paced things are these days.
Yeah, no, I can see how that'd be incredibly useful today. Now, the book also delves into cost-benefit analysis, a concept I'm somewhat familiar with. But I'm curious to hear how it fits into this whole toolkit of genius-level thinking.
So think of it as a structured way to approach decisions, especially when those decisions involve weighing potential gains against potential losses, right? It's about looking at the numbers, but it also encourages you to consider these intangible factors.
Such as?
Like your time, stress levels, even your own personal values.
So like a pros and cons list.
In a way.
But with a more systematic approach.
Exactly.
You're not just listing things out randomly. You're assigning weights to different factors to make a more rational, informed decision. I feel like this could be really helpful, especially in those moments where emotions are running high and they kind of threaten to cloud our judgment.
Precisely. Cost-benefit analysis can bring that much-needed objectivity to our decision-making. It helps us make choices that are aligned with our goals and values, even when emotions are running high.
That's really interesting. It sounds like a great tool for, well, I mean, anyone who's ever faced a difficult decision was all of us at some point, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
But even with all of these, brilliant frameworks, these techniques that we've been talking about, aren't there still pitfalls that we should be aware of?
Oh, absolutely. And the book does a great job of addressing some of those potential stumbling blocks.
Okay.
So, for example, when it comes to problem solving, it really cautions against, jumping to conclusions prematurely.
Oh, I am so guilty of that.
Yeah.
My brain just loves to jump to solutions before fully understanding the problem, which more often than not just leads to more complications.
Yeah, it's a common pitfall. We get so eager to fix things that we skip over that crucial step of actually understanding the problem at its core.
Right.
That's why the book encourages us to slow down, gather all the information, analyze it carefully, and only then start considering solutions.
It's like that saying, measure twice, cut once.
Exactly.
Rushing into a solution without that clear understanding of the problem, it can lead to costly mistakes.
Yeah.
What other pitfalls should we be mindful of?
Well, when we're embracing a growth mindset, it's easy to fall into the trap of seeking constant validation from others.
Oh.
Right. We might start relying on external praise as our primary source of motivation.
Right.
But true growth, it stems from within.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah.
It's like when you're learning a new skill, right?
Yeah.
And you become so concerned with impressing other people
Right.
that you kind of lose sight of the joy of just learning and growing for yourself.
Exactly. The book encourages us to celebrate our progress, no matter how small. And to find that intrinsic motivation, the joy of learning and challenging ourselves, recognize that our growth is our own. External validation is nice, don't get me wrong, but it shouldn't be the driving force.
Yeah, it's like we need to become our own cheerleaders in a way, right? Recognizing and celebrating our wins, no matter how big or small. Finding that internal drive to push ourselves beyond our comfort zones. Now, what about when it comes to creative thinking? Are there any common traps that we should be aware of in that realm?
One of the biggest creativity killers is the fear of judgment.
Oh, yeah.
Right. We might have these amazing outside-the-box ideas, but we're too afraid to share them. We're worried about being ridiculed, dismissed.
I know that feeling all too well.
Right.
That inner critic can be brutal, whispering doubts and, just stifling creativity before it can even take flight.
Exactly. So the book encourages us to silence that inner critic.
Okay.
And to create a safe space for ourselves to explore even the most unconventional ideas, but without that judgment. Give ourselves permission to experiment, play with the possibilities, and just embrace the freedom that comes with unbounded creative exploration.
Yeah, it's about remembering that even the most groundbreaking ideas often start as these seemingly wild and unconventional thoughts. Now, what about those cognitive biases that we talked about earlier? Those seem like they could be particularly tricky pitfalls to navigate.
They are.
Even when we're aware of them.
Exactly. The book really emphasizes this need for ongoing vigilance when it comes to cognitive biases. It's like we need to become these mental detectives, constantly on the lookout for any clues that our thinking might be swayed by these unconscious biases.
So it's not like a one-time fix, right?
Right.
It's this ongoing process of self-reflection and awareness.
Yeah.
We need to actively look for these biases in our everyday thinking and then challenge ourselves to see things from maybe a different perspective.
Exactly. It's about cultivating that critical distance from our own thoughts, recognizing that, hey, we're not always objective.
Right.
And we need to actively seek out those alternative viewpoints. And the book also encourages us to, solicit feedback from others.
Okay.
Because sometimes they can spot biases in our thinking that we might completely miss.
Yeah, having that outside perspective can be invaluable. Sometimes, we get so entrenched in our own thought patterns that we don't even realize how our biases are shaping our perceptions.
Absolutely. And that brings us to another potential pitfall, which is analysis paralysis. It often arises in decision-making where we become so overwhelmed with gathering information, analyzing every single possible option, that we become frozen. We're unable to make a decision.
Oh, I've been there, for sure. It's like you're stuck in this loop of just endless analysis.
Yeah.
You're afraid to make a move because what if you make the wrong choice?
Precisely. The book gently reminds us that sometimes good enough is better than perfect.
Okay.
It's about finding that balance between careful consideration, but also decisive action.
Right. We can't allow that fear of making the wrong choice to just paralyze us.
Exactly.
So it's about setting maybe reasonable deadlines for our decision-making process.
Yeah.
Learning to trust our instincts a little bit. Recognizing that we don't need to have all the answers to just move forward. Sometimes the best way to learn is by taking action and then adapting along the way.
Absolutely. And that ties back into the power of a growth mindset, right? Even in our decision making, we can embrace this idea that, mistakes, they're not failures. They're opportunities for learning and growth.
It's about shifting our perspective, right? From a fear of failure to this curiosity about what we can learn from every experience, even the ones that don't go as planned.
Exactly. And finally, when it comes to lifelong learning, one of the biggest pitfalls is becoming discouraged. When we experience setbacks or we hit those plateaus, we might get to a point where it feels like we're not making any progress.
Yeah.
And that's when it's so tempting to just want to throw in the towel.
I think we've all had those moments, right? Where it's just like, We hit that wall, whether we're learning a new language or, trying to master a new skill or even just trying to build better habits, could be really frustrating.
Absolutely. But the book reminds us that progress, it's rarely ever linear.
True.
There will inevitably be those ups and downs, those twists and turns along the way. The key is to really focus on the long game and to celebrate those small victories along the way. Recognize that those plateaus, they're not permanent states. They're just opportunities for us to reassess, refine our approach, and emerge even stronger.
It's about finding the joy in the journey, not just focusing on the destination. Savoring that process of growth and learning, even when it's challenging.
Precisely. And it's about remembering why we embarked on this journey in the first place.
So,
what are those goals? What are we striving to achieve? Because when we reconnect with our why, it reignites our motivation.
yeah,
It makes it easier to weather those inevitable storms and keep moving forward.
it's like having that guiding star, that North Star, to keep us oriented,
Exactly.
even when we feel lost or unsure about the path ahead.
Exactly. And by keeping that larger vision in mind, those setbacks, those plateaus, they become less about personal failure and more about opportunities for learning, adaptation, and growth.
It's all about reframing our perspective, isn't it?
It is.
Viewing those challenges as opportunities, mistakes as learning experiences, setbacks, just stepping stones on the path to success.
Absolutely. It's a profound shift in mindset, and it's at the heart of what it means to grow to the top, both literally and figuratively. And the book really does provide an incredible framework and set of tools to make that growth a reality.
This has been a really insightful exploration of, this treasure trove of knowledge.
It really has. But, even with the most comprehensive toolkit, there's one crucial element that the book highlights.
What's
Action.
right? It's like having a map and a compass, but then, never actually setting out on the journey.
Exactly.
We can't just passively absorb this information, right? We need to actively apply it to our lives.
Precisely. It's in the application that real transformation happens, right? The book doesn't just offer these theoretical concepts, it provides practical tools and techniques. They're designed to be put to use.
It's like that quote, knowledge is power, but only when it's applied. It's in those moments, when we translate that knowledge into action, that we really unlock its potential.
I couldn't agree more. And that's one of the things I find so inspiring about Think Like a Genius. It doesn't just tell us what to think, it empowers us to think for ourselves, to become those active agents in our own growth and development.
Yeah, it's like we're not just being handed a set of answers.
Right.
We're given the tools, the guidance
Yeah, the framework.
to discover our own answers, to forge our own paths.
Exactly. It's about cultivating that spirit of intellectual curiosity and independence. And the more that we exercise those mental muscles, the stronger and more adaptable they become. It's like any other skill. Practice and application are key.
Yeah, we can't expect to become master chefs just by reading cookbooks, right?
Exactly.
We need to actually get in the kitchen, roll up our sleeves, experiment,
Make a mess.
make mistakes, learn from those experiences. Same principle applies to developing genius-level thinking. It's this ongoing journey of exploration, experimentation, and refinement.
Precisely. It's about embracing that journey with all of its twists and turns and knowing that even those missteps can be valuable learning experiences. And that brings us to, I think, one of the most important messages of the book. And that is, it's never too late to embark on this journey of intellectual growth.
That's a message that really resonates, I think, with the whole grow to the top philosophy.
Absolutely.
Right? It's never too late to embrace that growth mindset, to cultivate our curiosity and really strive to become the best versions of ourselves.
Absolutely. This book is a powerful reminder that we all have that potential for genius within us. It's up to us to nurture that potential, step into that power, and use it to really create positive change in our own lives and in the world around us.
This has been a really incredible deep dive into Think Like a Genius, critical thinking hacks. Its book is just brimming with insights, practical strategies, inspiring stories, really.
Yeah.
And it's a true testament to, the power of embracing that growth mindset and cultivating our intellectual potential.
I couldn't agree more. It's a book I highly recommend to anyone, really, who is looking to level up their thinking, unlock their potential, and navigate the complexities of life, with greater confidence, clarity, and creativity.
Absolutely. And for our listeners who are ready to embark on that journey of intellectual growth, remember to grab your free ebook bundle.
Yeah.
First link in the video description. It's right there for you, packed with study notes, key takeaways to help guide you through each chapter. And if you prefer to listen on the go, you're out and about, be sure to check out the audiobook, second link in the description. It's a great way to kind of absorb these concepts and integrate them into your daily life.
It's a game changer for sure.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the world of genius level thinking. Until next time, keep those minds sharp, keep those questions coming, and never stop growing.